much. Go to agenda adjustments.
Yeah,
We need to make one agenda adjustment. Looking at our public comments policy, it states that the public comment period will immediately follow the approval of the minutes. So we'd have to modify something. So in order just to get public comments in the right place for this meeting, and then we can address whether change the policy to put it a different place or continue to have public comments immediately following the minutes. So if there's no objection, could we do approve all agenda adjustments? So what I'd ask for approval that we adjust the agenda to move public comment period to immediately following the minutes.
we have to do a roll call on that.
Okay, well then it needs to be, so I would move that if somebody would second it.
Second,
Who was that? Sorry.
Vicky.
Oh,
Vicky,
Vicky. Okay.
moved and
Okay.
seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take the vote.
Bob,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Robbie,
Yes.
Joan. I don't think Joan is here. Nope. Okay, Vicky,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Andrea. I don't think she's here either. Okay, Joe
Yes.
and Dory.
Yes.
All right, agenda adjustment carries. Motion carries.
All right, thank you all. We'll get this squared away. Sometimes you read these policies, you find we're in conflict and we got to adjust them. So at this time, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the March 24th, 2021 Board of Directors meeting.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
There's
Had it
Joan.
moved.
So moved.
Oh, there's Joan.
Yeah,
Yes. I had
Hi,
a
Joan.
heck of a time getting in.
okay, so it's
it-
been moved by Robert Gayton,
Yeah.
Yep,
seconded by
Joan.
Joe, second.
Second.
Okay. Any comments, corrections?
Don't hear any.
I'm not hearing any.
Right.
So at this time, I'll call for the vote.
Bob,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Robbie,
Yes.
Joan,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Andrea. I don't, just wondered if she'd come yet. Nope, not here. Joe
Yes.
and Dory.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thank you. At this time, we'll move on to the public comments or comments from the floor. I see we have a number of people that have logged on tonight. That's great. We like to get people informed of what's actually going on. But there are probably undoubtedly some there that have not attended our Zoom meetings before or our meetings in person, might not understand how our public comments period goes. So it's a period of public participation where this residents and staff of the school district have the ability to go and talk about subjects that's directly related to the operation of the schools, except for personnel matters or complaints concerning specific employees or students, which should be addressed through the appropriate channels. So it is a period of time when we will open it up. We will ask you to either raise your hand using the raise your hand function or to send a chat asking to be recognized. The superintendent sees all the chats, the only one who sees the chats. He can then, on my behalf, recognize people in order to go and speak. That's kind of the guidelines. If in fact, remember, this is a period for comments. It's not a period for discussion. If there's items that need to be discussed, then you're requested to get a hold of the superintendent or myself, but and ask it to be put on a future agenda item. So at that, I'm not going to read this whole policy. We have a 3-page policy here on public comment period. If in fact it drags on, it goes on too much, or it gets outside of the guidelines of the public comment policy, I will interject at that time and try and get us back to where we're supposed to be and get us back on the schedule. So with that being said, anybody who would like to make a comment, please raise your hand or send a chat asking to be recognized. We do ask that if you speak your comments that are yourself, that will be, because these are recorded, so that will be our record of who's speaking. All right. Well, oh, it's a spam risk. I very seldom get any of these.
I'm from Rich.
Sorry. House
All
phone.
right. I do have someone who has their hand raised X, if they would like to speak.
Okay, so X, please identify yourself and which town.
Hi, this is Laura Clifford from Sabatis. And I was just hoping to see some sort of opening plan for the fall for back in person, as a lot of us that have left the district and chosen some alternative education for our kids. And I didn't see anything noted on anywhere. So I wasn't sure if at some point that was published someplace. I did look back through the minutes and I didn't see anything where the district is even going back in person this year, which is kind of strange to me because everybody around us is. And I understand that one of the areas was because substitute teachers and bus drivers, and I just am not sure how the district plans on filling those positions when those people are remote learning with their kids. So I think some of that is getting kids back to school and that will fill some of their gaps. But anyway, I just was really disappointed not to see a plan for the fall for back in person.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? Please raise your hand or signal in chat.
I don't have anything else in chat.
Nothing else?
Nope, nothing else.
All right, so we'll close the public comment period. Let me just say this, while this is not a discussion item, it is on a lot of people's minds that are what the fall looks like. It's on all of our minds. If the guidance doesn't change, if the social distancing requirements don't change, I imagine we have no option but to kind of stay where we are because of space limitations. There is a meeting tomorrow morning of our planning team that has been meeting periodically to go and discuss where we are, what's been working, what isn't, what our future plans are. And this will be a topic that will be discussed. It's on the agenda for tomorrow morning for this work group to get together. And that has a number of different stakeholders involved in it.
Bob,
So we don't really know yet what the fall is going to be. We're hoping that we're back full time. That's what we want to be. We've been wanting to be there last fall, but we just can't do it with the buildings and the staff that we have.
Bob, we do have one more hand up.
Oh, we do?
Yep,
All right.
Brandy.
All right, and then we'll move on.
Hey
Bye,
there.
Brandy.
Hey there, this is Brandy Rand. I have a whole bunch of kiddos in the district. I guess I kind of have a question. Maybe you guys will cover it tonight. I've never really taken part in a school board meeting, so I'm new to this. But I have two middle schoolers that I'm super concerned about. They go to school 2 days a week right now. And then, right now I got one of them in quarantine. And just to give you guys a little idea of what their days remote look like, I leave here at 8 to drop off my elementary school kids. And by the time I return at 8:30, my boys are already done their middle school work. And when I say they're done, that's a Monday morning. So for 30 minutes, they do both Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday work. and they're in middle school. Like I got a kiddo going to high school next year. My 8th grader is in quarantine right now because of a close exposure. We were emailed by the principal and told that they would be Thursday in school through Zoom all day. My child has been notified by only one instructor. So right now the plan is for 30 minutes of class tomorrow. So that's his whole week of school is, I would say, an hour this week. I'm very concerned if we're not going back to 5 days, if plans don't change, quote unquote, how are we ensuring these children are getting an education? And both my boys are on honor rolls. So they are doing what they're given, but it's not enough. So I'm super concerned. And I'm on tonight because I'm pushing for 5 days a week. And B, I think it needs to be known how little work my kiddos are getting. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. This time we go on to number 3, petitions and communications.
We do have one this evening. And it actually came, I think it got sent out to all of you. It actually came to Marco, to Mr. Aliberti at the high school, but it was a letter from Shenna Bellows, who is the Secretary of State. And I'll kind of read it for everyone. It's the Dear Principal Aliberti. It is with great appreciation that I say congratulations to you for being presented with the Maine 2020 Spirit of America Foundation Award for organizing annual holiday food collection and so much more. For more than 30 years, the Spirit of America Foundation tribute is presented in the name of Maine municipalities to local individuals, organizations, and projects for commendable community service. Your commitment to volunteerism is an excellent example of true Maine spirit and giving back to your community. Thank you for your dedicated service and best wishes to you on this well-deserved recognition. Sincerely, Shenna Bellows. And if you all remember, that's about the OHLA group at the high school. So I just thought it was something that was shared. I thought the community should hear, and you all should hear about it as well. It was a nice letter to Mr. Aliberti from Secretary of State Shenna Bellows.
Thank you. We got that. And we did get that recommendation letter from that organization several months ago.
Yep.
We've got a new correspondence, I believe, looking for nominations with the nomination period later in the year to go, and so that there's not confusion with other things that are going on. So sure, we will be looking at that and see if we have something that would be worthy of nominating ourselves instead of letting them find it in the newspapers. All right. Report, superintendent's report.
All right. So we have come to April. It's hard to believe that we're almost to April vacation. It's almost as if this year has been a blur. We've been going full steam ahead. Typically you get a little rest or reprieve during the summer, but it feels like we've been going full steam ahead for almost 2 consecutive years now, which is, it's been a little stressful. I have to say, our administrators, all of our staff, teachers, custodians, they're doing a fabulous job. They just are. I can't say enough about the work that they do on a daily basis. We live in a very different world right now than we ever have. And the commitment that they have to our kids is just, it's unreal. It really is. I want to let you know, I think you've seen probably some of the communication. We have seen an uptick in COVID cases as of late. Kathy will be sharing some data on that. We've all of a sudden, we went through a good period of time where we didn't have any. And then all of a sudden we've had quite a few. I will credit, we've got some really creative people that work in RSU 4, a lot of school districts with the volume of cases and people that have gone into quarantine. A lot of school districts would have been gone to fully remote. We haven't done that. People have really stepped up and are making sure that we can stay in as much as possible. Let you all know that on May 5th, Kathy and I will be doing a community Zoom. The number 1 agenda item for that, I'll be presenting the budget after you all approve it. So I'll be putting information out there. I'll be presenting that through a community Zoom. We'll also have an online Google form where people can provide feedback on the budget, as well as a mail-in form that will go out with the budget book. As you all know, there's the governor's executive order allows us to skip the district budget meeting. However, we still have to allow the communities to provide some sort of feedback on the budget. Last year, I put up a narrated PowerPoint presentation on the website. I will do that again, but this year we're going to also do a community Zoom. It won't just be budget. That'll just be number one. Kathy and I will have some other things that we will address and allow for some time for any questions that people might have. One thing to note, we did get notified that we will at some point get ESSER 2 funds from the federal government. If you remember, they passed that next relief bill. I think it was in January. However, we have no timetable to know when we're actually going to have those or have access to them. We had a meeting this morning, Western Maine Superintendents, and the deputy commissioner let us know that they aren't able to release an application to us for those funds because they haven't received their application to get the funds from the federal government yet. So I don't know what the timetable on that is going to look like, but I will keep you posted as we move forward. Bob touched on it earlier. The collaborative planning team will be meeting tomorrow morning. We've got not a lengthy agenda, but we've got some things to discuss. We'll also be talking a little bit about next fall. One thing to note about the fall, we still at this point have not received any guidance from the Department of Ed, from the governor's office, from the CDC about what fall is going to look like. However, the deputy commissioner did tell us today that to expect the fall to at least be mask wearing and hygiene, and there's a high probability that the physical distancing requirements will remain in place. You know, and I think it's important to know, I as much as anybody else, and I don't want to speak for anyone else, but I know our staff, I know our administrators, we all want to be in 5 days a week. And ultimately, I'm a parent as well. I've got 4 kids in my home. I want them in 5 days a week. However, the physical distancing requirements, as we currently are structured, make it almost impossible for us to do so. That being said, reorganization is going to help us to some degree. And so we're going to spend the month of May as an administrative team looking at spacing to see if reorganization helps us, at least with some grade levels in some places. We'll then bring that to the collaborative planning team to hopefully get some plans out for the fall as soon as possible. Like I said, I want to be in 5 days a week. I know our communities want that. I know our kids want that. But the physical distancing requirements are really, really difficult. And not just in our classrooms, but also on our buses and things like that. So that will be, certainly that's a topic of discussion for the month of May, for administrators, for collaborative planning team. And my hope is just as soon as we can, we'll get some more guidance from the Department of Ed. But at this point, we just don't have anything. I will say I was a little discouraged to hear that, with regards to the physical distancing requirements. I'm ever hopeful that we will see some reprieve with that. However, with the uptick in cases all of a sudden across the state, I don't know if anybody saw the numbers, but over 500 cases today. I'm not optimistic that that's going to be the case. So other than that, that concludes my report.
All right, any questions? No appointments. We do have one resignation.
Yep, we do. Sarah Joy Rosenberg, who's an Ed Tech 3 at Libby Tozer School.
Okay. If there's no questions, then we'll move on to the Director of CAI's report. Kathy?
Yes, thank you. As Andy alluded to, I just wanted to share some hard numbers on our update of our COVID cases. So in the last 3 weeks, our Mondays have been our biggest challenge days. And I think it's folks that are cohort A are letting us know, as well as information over the weekend. 3 weeks ago, we put 90 students into quarantine. 2 weeks ago, we put 67. This week we put 30, and that's students and staff. This week was the first week we've actually had to put one grade level into remote, the 8th grade. And that was just due to the number of staff that ended up in quarantine. However, students will only be missing one in-person day for both cohorts. So that's good news. I do want to share, so are you seeing my charts?
We are.
So I tried to give you an update based on today. I've broken it down on the top. You can see it by school, how many positive cases for students as well as staff, and then how many students and staff have been deemed close contacts. You need to understand that prior to November, anyone that was in the close contacts were going to have to quarantine for 14 days. And after Thanksgiving break, right around there was when the 10-day rule changed. So it is a significant amount of days. So that when you're looking at this has 54 cases have been of COVID positive in our schools. We have 566 people that have had to quarantine either 10 or 14 days each. Thus far, we have two individuals that have not had to quarantine because they are fully vaccinated and also had done the inoculation period afterwards. I thought it would also be interesting because a lot of people have been saying, well, is there an uptick? So I tried to break down the graph by month on the bottom. And you can see that the blue shows the student positive cases and the red shows the staff positive cases. Our nurses do a great job of tracking. We actually have to fill out two forms for every case. So for each of these numbers, there are two forms that happened. I fill out a form as well as our nurses fill out a form. It is quite extensive, but it is necessary and it goes to the DOE and the CDC, and in which they give us a case number and then do follow up. In addition, our nurses make their initial phone call as well as administration, and then also do a follow-up phone call before students or staff come back. So it's been a lot of time consuming, and we certainly are looking to see these numbers go down. We just want to encourage mask wearing, hand washing, and social distancing. I do want to talk about another topic, but is there any questions about my charts before I stop screen sharing?
No, it's big numbers. About what 23% of the student population has been on close contact. Probably 25 when we do contacts and positive cases.
That's right. And I just thought it would be important to share so you at least knew what those numbers were in terms of what does it look like for RSU 4. The other thing I wanted to talk about tonight was the new immunization law goes into effect September 1st of 2021. And part of that is it's changing the medical and the philosophical pieces for our students. I just want to say that this has been a process that we've been working with our families all year to get them fully vaccinated. And when we're talking about vaccination, we are not talking COVID. We're talking our regular wellness checks. We have some students that have not been vaccinated at all. And so they needed to make a significant plan because some of the vaccinations are, 3-shot boosters. So we've been working with physicians and making plans with them so that they are fully vaccinated or are almost working towards that. But I need you to know that we have 150 students that would be in non-compliant as of September 1st. The new law states that they cannot be enrolled in our schools remotely or in a hybrid model or in full in person. And so we've been working really hard with the families to kind of make plans and figure that out. We've also made phone calls in the fall. We've sent a letter in March. We will send another letter in June with another phone call. And those students in August will not be getting their placement letter that they would normally get with or their class list that they normally will be getting until we get doctor's notes or an updated immunization record. So just wanted to let you know, just in case you start getting phone calls, those letters are out, but we are making plans. But in August, they will not be getting their, here's your classroom teacher for the upcoming year until we get that in.
All right,
Right.
thank you. Any questions? All right. We don't have our administrators' reports this month. See nothing on the agenda. Is our student rep here?
I have not seen him. Marco, is he here?
Speak up
I
if
don't-
you're here. Raise your hand. Riley.
Nope, I do not see him.
Okay. Then we get down to 4.7, other reports.
Bob, Glenn did have a couple of things he was going to share tonight.
Oh, he did, huh? Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead, Glenn.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Just a couple things I wanted to update everybody on, and they're kind of tied together. So I met with the custodians to talk about summer school as well as the 5th grade moving up to the middle school next year and how that's going to affect our summer cleaning. So we're trying to put a plan together on that and get the materials needed, moving boxes and so forth. So come the end of school in June, we'll be ready to go to assist with that move. Also, transportation, we're looking at summer school runs. Once Ms. Barton, which I know has been working at it very hard to get us all that information. Once that's done, we can start getting all those runs finalized, as well as the bus runs for next year. I met with the bus drivers today. We're going over our current runs to make sure that they're correct. And then in May, we're going to be looking at how we're going to, how the 5th grade moving up on the high school, middle school run is going to affect the run. So working hard over here and to get things ready to go for summer and next year.
All right, any questions? How are we coming on getting an architect for the addition?
So we have the firm acknowledged, and I believe we're going to be get together on the 28th. Is that correct, Mr. Carlton?
Yep. So on the 28th, you all will see a presentation from the architectural firm that the Finance and Facilities Committee is recommending that we start the process with. So they will be here on the 28th to make a presentation, and that will start the process.
Okay, thank you. If I may ask, I know it's just a little bit out of order here, but it would have fell under, I guess, the superintendent or under Kathy's report. But since we have such a large number of people in attendance tonight, many of which we know have not attended before and haven't heard any discussion on this, our plans for what we're talking about when we talk about summer school. Glenn talked about it for transportation, that we're working on it. Is there some high level overview of what we're anticipating is going to be our summer school program this year that might help a lot of parents understand how we're going to try and mitigate some of the loss of educational time throughout the year?
Yeah, I'm gonna report on that, Bob, during the CIA report.
Okay.
That was one of our topics of discussion tonight.
All right. Okay, well, in that case, we will move on to 5.1, old business.
Nope. We got to go to 4.7.
Oh, that's right. I went there and then we went back.
We
I'm
went
sorry.
backwards. Yep. So I will say, Mrs. Spencer is here with us tonight to present. Mrs. Taylor could not be, so we'll put her on a future agenda.
Ready for me now?
We are.
Okay, so I am the cohort D teacher for pre-K and K. And I have to say it was a little tricky at first, trying to figure out how to get our youngest students engaged and fully invested in doing things online. I have to say Seesaw is a lifesaver. That's what I do most of my work with. But I also have a little presentation. Can I share, Andy? Screen? Okay. Just kind of give you a little view of what I do. So I will present. So I started off doing like a weekly learning plan, and I pin it to the top. for my kindergartner students, and I wasn't sure they were always looking back at it. So I started doing it daily. So these are just kind of examples of what they see each morning when they get on to Seesaw. I also do a little recorded message, personal message, just kind of giving them a heads up what to expect for the day. This is an example of something I do for pre-K. So pre-K, I do more of a weekly thing because their main learning days are Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I also like to provide them with some other activities for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, such as, well, in the next slide, you'll see some examples. So each month I have been, along with regular academic pieces, I've been adding in these choice boards. So kindergarten has a reading and a math choice board. And then my pre-K students just have like a 5-minute play and learn challenge choice board. So I add a new one each month just to give them some extra stuff. And especially for my pre-K students on the days that they're not getting their full literacy, full academics, they are having these other things that they can also tune into. Other things I've been doing with them just to try to keep them engaged are creating these virtual classrooms. These have been kind of big this year. I've noticed them all over the place. They're time consuming, but they're really fun. So in these virtual classrooms, I add stories, I add movement breaks, some direct draw activities, and the kids really, they've been enjoying these. So I try to do a different theme each week. So I add some like science and social studies aspects into these virtual classrooms also. And I'm currently, if you've ever known a student that I've had, I do a little Hawaii theme in kindergarten each year, kind of like a end of the year hurrah. So I'm currently working on my Hawaii classroom right now. So this is like the beginnings of Hawaii. So I'll have some stories, and then I'll have some different virtual movement breaks, some social studies aspects of that. And then last but not least, to embarrass myself slightly, trying to keep pre-K and kindergarten kids just invested. I do get a little crazy sometimes with some of my lessons. Not all of my lessons look like this. Please don't think I'm too crazy. But this was one, the Lucy Calkins reading superhero power is like my favorite to teach. And I was trying to think this year, how am I going to like really get the kids excited about this? So I became super reader. And before I show the video with one of my reading groups, two of my students showed up with their reader masks because I also send monthly packets. So they have some hands-on materials to do, paper, pencil, cutting activities. Because pre-K and K, I feel like they need those things. So my kindergarten students got those masks to make, and they came to a reading group wearing them, and they're like, Mrs. Spencer, you need to have a mask. And I'm like, hold on, I have one. So I put it up to me, and they're like, oh, are you super reader? And I was like, no, I just happen to have one that looks like hers. So that was a little close call, but here's my embarrassing video.
Good morning, readers. Wait, Mrs. Spencer, I have a special message. What's going on? Hey, super readers. My friend Spider-Man told me that you have been using reading superpowers to read everything around you. I have a mega important tip for you. Do you want to know? Sometimes there are a lot of words in a book, or even longer words, and you must check what you're reading, that you're reading those words correctly. Remember you were given a lesson to make some special pointers? You remember that? Use those special pointers to help give you even stronger pointer powers. When you read, make sure you point one time under each word, making your reading match the words on the page. I want you to enjoy reading today and every day. Keep going, super readers.
So you could probably see me reading my script. It was taped to the wall. But that's just one of my little crazies that I do just to kind of keep them intrigued and wanting to come back for more. My reading groups right now, I've started doing more of a one-on-one thing, just because the thing I've missed the most about not having kids in person is just those connections. So doing those one-on-one reading groups, I've really been able to kind of make those connections. So that's been really special as of recently. So that's kind of my job in a nutshell right now.
Thank you. Anybody any questions? Robbie?
Yeah, Mrs. Spencer, those first two slides that you showed,
Yep.
those look kind of reader intensive for pre-KK.
Yep.
How do you impart that information to the students that can't read?
So I record myself doing a morning message every day also.
Yeah.
And I'm basically giving them that whole rundown. So the learning plan is more for the parent. When they log on,
Yeah.
I see their name underneath it. I know that they viewed it for the day. My recorded message is more for them, so for the students. So that way they can hear what I'm expecting from them for the day.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you, and thank you for all you're doing, you and all the staff, going out of the box and coming up with something to try and capture that attention and keep them growing.
Thank you.
All right, now may I go to 5?
I think you can.
I'm
at
on
this
schedule
point.
now.
Yep.
5.1, entertain a motion to approve the fiscal year 2022 RSU number 4 school budget in the amount of $19,557,484.
So moved.
So moved.
All right, I have a move by Robbie. Joan, you want a
Second,
second?
move. I'll
Okay.
second.
All right. Discussion. This is the budget that we have seen presented.
You have. Would you like to give me would you like me to give just a few statistics about this budget, Bob?
It
might
probably
be-
wouldn't hurt. We got a number of people online.
Yep. So just in a nutshell, I mean, you guys, the board and the administrators, they've seen this. We've worked through this budget. So, but just a few statistics about it. The expenditure side of this budget is actually down 0.02% from the current fiscal year. So it's about $4,000 less than our current fiscal year. If you remember correctly, we started draft one of the budget. It was up 600, the expenditure side of the budget was up almost $600,000 when we started. So, I have to credit staff, administrators, you all as the board for the work that we've done to put this expenditure side of the budget at a place where, we can feel good about it. So, but it really comes down to what is the impact of this budget to the 3 towns. So when I talk about this impact, it's really about the variance, and that's the change from the FY21 budget to the FY22 as far as what impact it has on the local communities. So this budget for the town of Litchfield represents a 3.11% increase over year, which is $117,238. For the town of Wales, it's a 5.54% increase, or $70,503, and Sabattis is a 4.57% increase, or $153,118. Those numbers are actually a little lower than they were at the last meeting. Scott and I had gone through the formulas and realized when we had made the change with Article 11, which was the food service article, it hadn't carried over for some reason. So that's why those numbers are a little less. So what does that mean? And we use $100,000 home. I know most homes are worth more than 100,000, but 100,000 is an easy number to kind of work from. So if you own a $100,000 home in Litchfield, your taxes from the school budget will increase $32.21 or $2.68 a month. For the town of Sabattis, it's $52.98 for the year, or $4.42 per month. And for the town of Wales, it's $59.74 for the year, or $4.98 per month. And we have to remember those are somewhat estimates because the towns haven't set their commitments yet, so their mill rates are not set in stone. But based upon what we know right now, that's the impact. You know, as I said, when we had started this process, the local impact, the variance was over $1.3 million. I think it was actually 1.5. Through the work we did together, you know, that's down, you know, around $300,000 or a little more than 300,000. So, you know, obviously I don't like passing on increases if we can help it, but due to the, you know, $750,000 loss in state funding, I think we have put together what I believe to be one of the most responsible budgets we've ever done, given the parameters under which we've been working with. So those are just some budget statistics if anybody has questions.
Robbie?
Yeah, Andy, can you explain to the people online? They hear us say that the budget went down from year to year, but
Yep.
their taxes are going up.
Yeah.
This is a good platform to explain that.
Yep, absolutely. So when we put together budgets, there are two sides to the budget. Just like in your home, there are two sides to your budget in your home. There's the revenue side, which when your home is the money you take in for working or your business or whatever. And then there's the expenditure side, which is the money that we have to expend to run business. And part of the way we gain, you know, the way we get revenue in a school district is through state funding. The Essential Programs and Services funding model lays out what the state's going to give us for state funding each year. RSU 4 is a 62-ish, we fluctuate 61 to 63% receiver of state funding. Unfortunately, due to a host of factors, which is, you know, we're due to some basically student count more than anything else, our state funding is down almost $750,000. That doesn't mean that our expenditures are, you know, have changed much. We still have to run business, we still have students. And so consequently, we have to use both sides to try to balance the budget. And unfortunately, to offset the loss in funding, we had to make substantial cuts to the first draft of the budget. And so when you piece those two together, the operational budget, which is the expenditure side, is down year over year, but so was the revenue side. And so when you put those two together, they didn't match. And so we have to raise more money locally on the revenue side to address the expenditure side. It was really a tough year.
Any other questions?
Robbie, did that address that the way?
Yeah, I think it did. I was looking for more if the state mill rate went up like it usually does.
Well, yeah, the state mill rate went down.
Yeah, it went down.
It went down. And so what the state mill rate looks at, so EPS is very convoluted, but one of the major drivers of EPS is student and staff count, but also town valuation. And so the town's valuations, and I think I showed you this, are up significantly over the last 3 or 4 years. And so even though every time the evaluations go up, regardless of what happens with the mill rate, it requires us to raise more locally to get less state funding. And it's really a hard thing when that happens.
And we can witness that by the real estate market.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, it's a great conversation, Bob, because this week I met with Kelly Weisenfels, who's the town manager in Litchfield, and he was talking about a house in Litchfield that just recently sold for $100,000 more than the asking price. That seems to be a theme that's happening across the state. And because of the way, the state does the essential programs and services funding model, they do use a 3-year average on the valuations, but because of the way valuations have risen over the last few years, it just has had a real hard impact on our state funding. I mean, case in point, Wales valuation over the last 3 or 4 years, Sharon will probably correct me if I'm wrong, but is up about 26%. Sabattis and Litchfield are running around 19-20%. So, over the last few years, that represents a substantial increase in the values of our towns. So,
Okay. No other questions? I would be remiss if I didn't. Typically, when we have an issue like this, I do ask if there's anybody in the public once the board's done discussing it. If anybody's online that wants to make a brief comment about this item before we vote on it. Again, it's to allow some input. Once we have done our discussions, it may prompt some further discussion by the board following that. But if there's anybody out there that would like to make a comment about this budget item, please raise your hand or put something in chat so that you can be called upon. I'll give us a minute or so to see if anybody's going to respond.
And while we're waiting, I just will tell everyone, I mentioned it in my superintendent's report, but on May 5th in the evening, and a blast will go out about this, I will be doing a public Zoom to present the budget statistics and things like that. It'll also be posted on our website under the budget information section.
See any takers?
I have nothing so far.
All right. So at this time, I'll call for the vote.
All right, so it's a roll call vote. Bob?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Robbie?
Yes.
Joan?
Yes.
Vicky?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Andrea is not here, I believe. Joe?
Yes.
And Dory?
Yes.
Motion carries. We now have a budget to go out.
Well, we have a proposed budget.
Proposed budget to go out, yes.
All right, 5.2. This is a very lengthy motion.
Yes.
So I'm going to entertain a motion to move that the vote entitled, or to move that the motion printed as item 5.2 in the agenda be adopted.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Joe seconded, and either Robbie or Joan moved it.
Oh, I moved it.
All right. So I think, Bob, if you don't mind, can I explain this motion briefly? Because
Yes, please.
yeah, it's a little long. So if you remember correctly, typically an RSU has a district budget meeting and a referendum, or just district budget meeting, depending on what the towns, we vote on that every 3 years. However, because of the current state of the world, the governor's executive orders 8 and 8A allow us to skip the district budget meeting and go directly to referendum, as long as we provide an opportunity for public feedback on the proposed budget. And so that's why I'll be doing the community Zoom. I also will have a Google form up on the website, and people will get a form in the budget book to provide us feedback on the budget. So this year, as we did last year, we will go directly to referendum.
Thank you.
Okay, Andy, could you explain how we're going to do referendum this year?
Yep,
Since
referendum.
we have to wear,
What's that?
our
Jen?
masks and distancing. How are we going to handle the referendum?
Yeah,
I think the public.
That's up to the town clerks to go and control the voting process. All we're going to do is in our warrant state the date of the referendum, so that it's done in the 3 towns, and then the town clerks and their governing bodies will control the method of voting during the period.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? All All right, seeing none, then I call for the vote.
Bob,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Robbie,
Yes.
Joan,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and Dory.
Yes.
Motion carries. So what that means is I will be sending out the warrants to be signed. So you can either come into the office to sign them, or it'll come out in DocuSign. Those have to get signed so that I can then send them off to the towns.
Right, we didn't have to include the date of the referendum in our motions?
It actually is there. It's on the,
Yes.
it's in that whole process. Yep.
Oh, June 8th, I see it there.
Yep, June 8th.
I read it before, I just forgot it was there.
Yep.
All right. Okay, moving on to new business, 6.1, to approve the 2021-2022 Board of Directors meeting schedule.
I move that we accept the meeting schedule.
Second.
I make a motion that we accept the meeting schedule.
Second.
Moved by Joan, seconded by Vicky. Any discussion?
I believe you got this in your
Yes.
packet.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jen.
Given what the guidelines of the state, I just know that last year we were in a very precarious situation and we had meetings throughout the summer because of lack of guidance of how to proceed. And I think the overall meeting schedule is appropriate, but does it allow for you to call any sort of emergency meetings if things change? Do you know what I mean?
Yes, that
Like if they're,
special meetings or emergency meetings can be called. I think the superintendent can call them, I can call them, and I think there's a way that board members can either request it or call it or something. But so if we need other
Okay.
meetings, and we've had to do this in the past, we can call a special meeting to discuss a particular special item.
okay, good.
Okay,
Yeah, and basically,
thank you.
If you remember correctly, we did this same process last spring. We actually voted on the, I believe, I'd have to go back and look, voted on the meeting schedule before or right around the same time kind of the world was changing. And we ended up
Yes.
meeting throughout the summer. So what would happen would be no different than we did last year. Currently,
Okay.
right now on this meeting schedule, it says the organizational meeting is on August 25th. After July 1, we actually would hold a new the first time we meet, we actually could potentially make it a new organizational meeting and redo this whole schedule. So this just sets in stone some dates for next year. It certainly doesn't lock us into not meeting during the summer if we have to.
Okay, right. And it will add it to the overall school calendar as well, because I know Bob had raised concerns last time because we didn't have the dates yet.
Yep, no, it'll go right on the school calendar. The other thing, if you notice, I typically put where we're meeting on the meeting schedule, but I just don't know what things are going to look like. We probably, there's a bill in front of the legislature that I'm hearing rumor will pass that will allow school boards to continue to meet like this, or a lot of boards. And so we'll probably have to have a discussion potentially this summer about what you all want to do next year if that bill passes. So I did not put any location. As soon as we know what things are going to look like moving forward, we can have a discussion about that too.
thank you. Any other discussion? All right, seeing that, I'll call for the vote.
Bob,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Robbie,
Yes.
Joan,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and Dory.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, item 6.2, entertain a motion to elect Leslie Nickerson as a grade 4 teacher at the Carrier-Ricker School for the 2021-2022 school year, as recommended by the superintendent of schools.
So moved.
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
All right, and then Joe seconded. So take your pick of the movers.
I picked one.
All right. All right. And I see Leslie, I believe I saw her name.
Yes.
Oh, there she is, right in the middle of my screen. And Leslie, welcome. We haven't voted you in, but I'm always interested on the rationale behind teachers applying and coming to RSU 4. If you wouldn't mind a few words on that.
At all. I've been with this district for 20 years and I've seen some wonderful educators come through, some wonderful students. I love where I am and I just plan on being here forever.
So the right opening came up at the right time. Huh?
It did.
Good.
So, and Bob, I'd just like to add, you know, Leslie hit on it. She's worked in RSU 4 for 20 years in varying capacities, but for the last year or so, she's been long-term subbing for us and just done a fabulous job. She really has. Her commitment to students, her commitment to teaching is just unparalleled. And we're pretty excited to have her on board in a professional staff role. So.
Super. Are there any questions? Seeing none, then we'll call for the vote.
Bob?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Robbie?
Yes.
Joan?
Yes.
Vicky?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
And Dory?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you and welcome
Congratulations.
in the new capacity as a full staff member, not substituting for us. All right, at this time, we'll go into committee reports. Finance and facilities did not meet. That's
Nope. No, we did not meet, Bob.
okay. Personnel policy committee.
We didn't meet with the policies, but we did have the personnel with Leslie Nickerson. And Jen attended that interview. So that was our one interview.
All right. Thank you. CAI Technology Committee. Robbie, you were going to report?
Yeah, we took at our meeting tonight, we had 3 subjects that we talked about on the agenda, summer school being one of them. As of right now, Kathy's team is working on shoring up summer school, and she has 200 pre-K to 5 candidates. Am I right, Kathy? That are interested in summer school, and then the middle school will be doing as request summer school, and then the high school will be doing their regular summer school. And it looks like right now, Kathy's told us that she has enough staff to do 2 sessions, which are 2 weeks apiece, right, Kathy? And 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, because a lot of the pre-K 5 kids are in Camp 44, and they moved their field trip days from Wednesday to Friday so they can still participate in that. And summer school will go from 8 to 1, right? Yeah, 8 to 1. And,
All right.
And
any questions?
the biggest contributor as to why there are so many students involved, Kathy noted that parents were quite grateful that transportation is being provided this summer for students to be able to attend. And if I remember correctly, Kathy, you said that this was being paid for through the ESSER or the
ESSER
CARES
fund.
funds?
Yes.
ESSER funds.
The first
So,
round, yes.
Sir 2.
yeah, so I think that's really great.
Yeah. And the kids will be getting 2 meals a day, breakfast and lunch, right, Kathy?
Yes.
Yeah. So that'll help our food program.
Excellent.
Yeah, who provides the food? I mean, where does the food come from that the
Our
kids are getting?
cafeteria.
Our food service.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and so that'll fall under the summer food service program, so it'll be free, free for all students, and obviously we get reimbursed by the federal government for those.
How nice is that?
Yep.
I mean, I think that's great for the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, and the other part we talked about is NWEA testing, which is the month of May. Kids have been taking their practice tests, and teachers have been working with their proctors to proctor the test. So that's going to be ongoing the whole month of May. And am I right, Kathy? The third thing was the using the ESSER funds and CARE funds to buy future programming for our learning programs.
Yeah, actually, it was the CARES Act funds.
Yeah,
So
CARES Act funds.
yeah, I know it's
Yeah.
very confusing with all of these grants.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, we're pre-buying like the textbooks and stuff like that, so we don't have to use local funds in the future to buy those things.
All right, any questions?
So, sorry, one more thing to note. The fact that the NWEAs are the test of choice for the state for all the grades. It is a computerized test, and it's important to note that students will be taking this on their remote days, which is Wednesday. So it's not impacting their in-person learning time with teachers, which is pretty great. It's also affording students who have specific accommodations to have those accommodations more easily met through the testing process. So overall, this year, in this particular testing, it will be a baseline gathering information for everybody, which is going to be very helpful.
Yeah, I heard today that they were not going to allow states to waive standardized testing this year.
Nope.
Federal government wasn't, so.
Yeah.
That will be our
Right.
standardized test.
Yes, so that was decided under the Trump administration, and the Biden administration had to just implement it. So there are some waivers that we are putting in for, and one of them is the 95%. So ensuring that we still get funding even if 95% of our students are not taking the test. And then there's a couple of other ones that the state is applying for on all our behalfs. But the NWA allowing us to do remote, they had to extend the amount of time that MEAs were given, as well as also give flexibility in how it's done. So for us to be able to do it on a remote days is definitely a win to reduce the impact on in-person days. So.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right, board member comments.
I have to say that I am looking forward to seeing how our restructuring program for students will be in the fall upon hearing today that, you know, in projecting forward to be prepared for more of hybrid learning. So I'm just curious to see how it's all going to unfold. And I really hope that we continue to frame things as best as we can so that those who wish to have their kids in school in person can do that through that process, whatever meets the students' needs the best.
Anybody else? I'll close the comments with a thank you to all people that were involved in the budget, people that are involved in food prep and cleaning our buildings and teaching our students and answering the phones and all of the day-to-day things that have to be done in this organization to make it as successful as it is. Thank you to all of you. You're doing a great job. You are the unsung heroes that we have out there, doing the best that we can do with the cards that we've been dealt. So with that said.
So I have a comment. I have a quick comment. We thank all the teachers and the superintendent and the principals and everybody under the sun. We should also thank our chairman of RSU 4. I think you do a fabulous job, Bob, and I think you deserve a lot of kudos too. Thank you.
Hear, hear.
Well, thank you. We'll see how that goes at town meeting. I think I'm up this year.
Yes, but right now, today, thank you for all that
All right.
you do.
All right, thank
And
you.
it's not an easy job.
It's a privilege to be able to serve as your chair. So with that being said, there are no executive sessions scheduled, and without objection, I will declare this meeting adjourned.
Thank you all very
Okay.
much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
all.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Stay safe.
Good night, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
Hey, everyone.
Andy, can you hold on for